listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
What is going on? Thanks so much for tuning in and checking out my show, Straight to Video. Alright, one band that has been a mainstay of my musical journey for over 20 years is Chicago power pop rockers Enuff Z'Nuff. One of those bands that pretty much everyone who knows about asks the same question: why aren't this band huge? They have some of the most amazing songs ever, but for whatever reason never exploded into the mainstream. Much like the Wild Arts though, who I mentioned in this chat, you could totally argue that. What is the definition of success? Success is something that comes up a lot on the chats I've had over the last year, and in this particular case, Enuff Z'Nuff's music and the people who are or who have been part of this band's long career are truly loved by thousands of people all over the world. Surely that, at the end of the day, is success, right? I first saw Enuff Z'Nuff supporting Poison at Nottingham's Rock City in 1993 and seen them countless times over the years since. I wrote the booklet notes to the band's DVD and stole Johnny Monaco's red hair look for my own in the early 2000s. Later, when I began performing, I toured with the power trio of the band in 2007, bass teched for Chips Enough at Download, and was part of Monaco's solo band when he came to the UK. Then there was the time Jane and I sat on their bus in Hollywood helping Monaco pick out what would be the coolest socks to wear on stage that night at the Whiskey. True story. But whilst I've got to know Chip, Johnny, Alex Kane, Randy Scott and Tori, all these people who are part of the Enuff Z'Nuff story, one person I've not got to know is the band's original singer Donnie Vie. Now, we've met a couple of times but never hung out. I'm pretty quiet and I always got the impression that Donnie was too, so never really connected. Donnie though has been on quite the roller coaster of a journey to where he is today, and I'll be honest, I had no idea what to expect going into this chat, or I guess how to approach it. Every band has their dramas, but Enuff Z'Nuff are up there with the biggest when it comes to background struggles, whether it be career choices, lineup changes, fallouts, substance abuse and addiction. They've seen it all. It's probably about as rock and roll as it gets, but the band are still around to this day, and so is Donnie, who, gotta admit, was great in this chat right from the start. I was a little floored by the humility he showed regarding things he's done and been through, but he really does appear to be in a great place now and excited about his life and his music, which there's lots of right now. He's just released a new song, Party Time, and has a career-spanning box set in the form of a cool flash drive laminate with all his solo material, videos, outtakes, new songs, and a lot more. And all of this is available at donnievie.com. Before we dive in though, please show some love for our friends Dead Skull Coffee who support this show and are offering listeners 15% off any order of their ground or full bean coffee when you shop at deadskullcoffee.co.uk. Just enter the promo code STV on checkout. Dead Skull Coffee are a true independent rock and roll coffee company, so please check them out and show some love. I really hope you enjoy this talk. We cover a lot of stuff, and some of it was a little tough for me to hear because he spoke openly about a band I care a lot about and the people who are part of it, and I know a lot of you out there feel the same way. A band's music and the people who are part of its journey become part of our lives too, no matter how big or small, but Donnie was honest throughout and it was a really insightful and heartfelt chat, so please enjoy my straight to video talk with Donnie Vie.
It's party time, if it's a good time, I don't mind. Party time, if it's a good time, I don't mind. Party time, if it's a good time, I don't mind. Party time, we'll have a good time.
Straight in there.
There he is.
How you doing, man?
I'm okay. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. Lovely to see you.
You too, brother.
We've met a couple of times, but I've toured with Chip and Monaco a few times, but we've never had hung out properly.
That's not my fault. Both of those things are not my fault.
But no, it's really cool to actually chat with you, and looking forward to hearing some stories.
Okay, all righty.
Growing up in Blue Island, music came into your life really early after hearing Ticket to Ride by the Beatles, I believe.
Yeah.
For a first song to draw you in, that pretty much has a lot of stuff to set you on the path to be a creative artist. You've got this insanely beautiful melody, but also this left of center rhythm and beat, which is a bit unusual for a pop song. What was it that particularly caught your ear, do you think?
The first damn fucking notes went, now, 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 now. And it was so bright and trebly. I was like, what is this? This sounds fucking, just little kid, maybe 4 or 5 years old. That really spoke to me. And then in comes Lennon's fucking vocals and, what can you say about John Lennon's vocals? It's just, it convinced me, I mean, and I didn't know what it meant at the time. I didn't know it had anything to do with horrors, but I believed she had a ticket to ride. And I was off and running the harmonies and everything. You could hear Paul in there. And then I started moving to more songs and you hear Paul singing. It's like, wow, there's other voice too, and trying to figure out who's singing what and stuff. And it wasn't long before I could tell, but I started learning harmonies and not learning them, but what they sound like at a very young age. I didn't understand exactly what they were and stuff. But by the time I sort of was trying to put that together myself, I just had such a knowing of, just from subconscious, just a knowing of how to do it. And through the years, I've been learning how to throw a third harmony in and like a fifth harmony in, you know what I mean? And really building, it's my favorite part of the whole thing, is building these harmonies and coming up with a cool guitar riff.
The whole harmony thing just blows my mind, how people can figure them out like that. People say, oh, can you sing a harmony on this? I'm like, whatever comes out is what you're going to get.
There's an obvious harmony. If you're knowing what's going on, there's an obvious harmony to a melody that's, as like I said, it's obvious. It's like you could sing that ride harmony. You just know that you're like a third or a fifth above every. I still don't understand that shit. Thirds, fifths, sevenths. You know what I mean? But I imagine it only goes to eighths because there's 8 notes. But then like learning that, sometimes one note won't necessarily move and the other note's moving and one will stay there. And then to find that invisible harmony, which George always sang, which was that one you really can't pick it out. You can't tell what the fuck that note is. And so just to kind of turn myself on to that one there and focusing on that one, it's like all of a sudden like, whoa, it's like the fucking choir. I'm like, listen to that, listen to me. I'm fucking kicking ass.
Is that the one that shouldn't work, but it does?
Yeah, everything's wagging then.
Was it on the radio you heard it, the Beatles song?
No, I heard it on a little 45 record that was, I don't know how it ended up at my grandparents', but I'm not sure. Maybe it wasn't my dad's, but I found it there. And I'd had this little close and play record player they got me for all my little nursery rhyme records and stuff like that. I fucking was done with those as soon as I heard Ticket to Ride. I'm like, fuck, Mary had a little lamp. Fuck, the fucking little Puff the Magic Dragon, all that shit like that. Yeah, it was a little 45 record. And then I slowly go snooping through shit and I found more, like Please Please Me and things like that. Then I got to Paul songs and I was like, whoa. So there's got to be there's a sweetness in the vocal. And so I'm trying to kind of cop that. I've never consciously or even subconsciously set out to rip a Beatles sound or a Beatles record or a Beatles song or my voice to sound like. It's just the way that I learned to sing. And you can get a great education, musical education, just from the Beatles alone. You know what I mean? There's so much in that short amount of time that you can learn almost everything there is to know. And they started everything there is to know. And so I figured that's a good building place for me because it gave me a full education, a full understanding of how a song should be structured and how it's arranged. And, you figure these things out and you know what you're talking about as you go through it more and more and more. Then when it was time to use orchestration and shit like that, it's like all that was in there too. I was like, wow, I can hear what this is. I'm nowhere near George Martin. I wish I had a George Martin. Like I said, it's something that you subconsciously or subliminally learn. And people say, oh, Donnie, you were just born with such a talent and what you do is so effortless. And if I could do what you did, I would be the president of the United States and shit like that, all that stuff. But now, while you're out playing baseball and football and meeting girls and this and that, I'm in there in my room with a guitar in the mirror, studying fucking every single goddamn thing I could think of to do until it became like breathing, until it became natural, like breathing. And so all I need now is subject matter or inspiration, or motivation and emotion. And a lot of emotions that I've felt, if I had to pick one emotion that I felt the most through my life, two of them, it would be lonely and scared. Those are the two emotions. I mean, you can be lonely as fuck around 10,000 people. You could still be lonely. You could still be in here. And it's just got to a point where I suffer from the worst anxiety. I have the worst anxiety disorder. I know a lot of people have it, but you don't understand it unless you have it. It can paralyze you with fear. You know what I mean? And when you're the lead singer of a band that's got MTV and the radio and everything, it's with that. And then you have propensity to try to medicate and make it do. And then the medication takes on a life of its own. From the inner circle, the people who are the most important to you throughout my life, telling me where I'm coming up short and what a piece of shit I am for this and that. And I'm like, you don't understand. I chose not killing myself today over doing a line of coke and some blow and made it to the stage. And I've come through with every fucking record, every single record I've delivered. You know what I mean? Like every show I'm there. It's like, what the fuck am I not doing right? It's like, I'm that big a piece of shit. I'm a bigger piece of shit than Keith Richards. I'm a bigger piece of shit than Led Zeppelin and all those guys that partied and had drug issues and this and that. I'm a bigger piece of shit. Well, and after a while you start believing it, and I have all the wonderful fans that let me know that, very affect them so positively and sweetest, most wonderful things to say. And, but the inner circle has always been rah, 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 and still goes on to this day. I'm still trying to disprove things, but I forgot what the actual question was.
I think we started at the Beatles where you first heard them and it just went a whole different direction.
I don't know how that's how it happens. I ramble and I'm working with what's left of my brain. You know what I mean? My faculties. Some days they're on, some days they're not.
Did you notice that anxiety thing at a young age, or was it something you realized later on?
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it would be called. Didn't know that there was a thing. It was anxiety. I'm very young, and all I knew was I was scared, discouraged. You know what I mean? Now I wasn't discouraged. I always knew. There's ones around me discouraging me and making it harder. That just made me work harder and be stronger and overcome things. But very insecure, very scared. Never learned to socialize with people. Most of my life going into high school and stuff was just the most miserable fucking thing I could ever imagine. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was going to do. All that shit meant nothing. And I got to sit there and suffer through that fucking shit every day. And it's like, I'm the guy like this, sleeping on his desk in the back of the class, so interested in this shit.
Where did you fall in school? Because schools always had the different cliques.
I fell out of it.
Oh, you fell out of it. But did you have your own, did you have a group of friends who you could gravitate to, a smaller group?
I had one really, really close friend. It's like my best friend. And still to this day, I speak to him maybe once a year or something. And still to this day, when we talk, it's like, he's like, there's no Donnie Vie involved. There's no the band and stuff like that involved. It's like just straight up head to head. And maybe I'll kind of, unload some of my shit on him and he'll kind of walk me through some stuff. And he's still the dominant one in our thing, But other than that, there was a couple other misfits, the other outcasts. And that's kind of who my friends became. And you are kind of the circle of friends that you're in. And so we were all like drinking and smoking pot, probably like freshman year, even going into freshman year. And that's when I think now about that. Little kids drinking fucking hardcore vodka and shit like that. And then there's getting in trouble.
Who did you get to buy it for you?
Oh, anybody. You just go outside to fucking hang out outside the liquor store and you fucking give somebody an extra. You scrape up everything you got to get it. And then it's a crapshoot. Will this guy keep your money? Will he bring it out? Will he say, no, I couldn't do it or this and that? And you do that. And my other buddy, like my best friend, his grandfather and grandmother owned a bar. And she used to make food and stuff and owned a bar. And so the basement of their house was just, they would never miss a bottle here and there. And we took a lot of bottles and they'd never miss them, and then the same group of people, started learning and playing together a little bit. But unfortunately, everybody tried to learn the same instrument and be better than everybody else on that instrument. Instead of you learn the bass, you learn the drums and we'll be rocking, and never got to play any kind of shows in front of my age group or in high school and stuff like that. So I just stayed under the radar and scared people. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm the lead singer of a fucking national act. You know what I mean? So it was a big transition.
I would imagine, man. Because, you were pretty young when everything happened. But when did the incentive to start learning music yourself? Because you're pretty much self-taught on both piano and guitar, right?
Yeah, I'm a hack on both. I can play a little bit of everything, but if you single out an instrument that I'm playing and you spotlight it, I'm a hack. I have to learn to play the guitar all over again every time I write a song or go perform a song. And then live, I would just, be wailing. I was just open wide. There's no dynamics or anything, so I could sing along to it. And all the shit around me is so fucking ear bleeding loud. I've lost my hearing.
No in-ears back then when you guys started.
What's that?
No. Perfect
No.
response.
I never had them until probably 10 years ago. Not even 10 years ago. I still didn't have them. I was afraid of them. I didn't understand them. So I was afraid of them. Our situation towards the end of Enuff Z'Nuff didn't lend itself to having a crew that was that much together and that I could count on something. And all I know is, when I started using them, it was like worse, and monitors. Every once in a while, I would just kick the monitors off the front of the stage. They're so fucking useless. Or I'd just get on some feedback note and I would just load that note in there and just keep wailing into it till the speaker exploded one time. I was like, fuck, it's like Caruso.
Was that your own gig or a sport gig? Do you remember?
Oh, no, it was our gig. I didn't have any solo gigs ever until much later. And it was a lonely going back to a lonely world, but I realized that in the band, I was pretty fucking lonely too. I mean, it was constantly beaten down. You know, what a piece of shit you are. You're fucking everything up for all of us and stuff like that. And I'm like, what am I fucking up? I'm delivering every fucking record. I'm playing every show, but that makes you an easy scapegoat and an easy target for everything that goes wrong. And so before you know it, people start believing it. And before you know it, I start believing it, you know. So it's been a battle back. I went into a long rehab program and rebuilding and stuff like that. And it did wonders for me. And when I came out of that, I finally wrote another record, you know, as I hadn't written a record for years before that.
Did that whole program answer other things for you as well, such as your anxiety and loneliness? Did that shed light on that kind of stuff?
In that situation, your world is kept very small. You're just surrounded by other really troubled people who are trying to do the same thing. Some people that just, it was hopeless. You couldn't, everybody's abandoned them. You get to a certain point where you just can't get back up. You know what I mean? It's just too hard. There's too much involved in getting back up and being able to take care of yourself and shit like that. But I got a lot of great therapy. That's the thing I got with it, was the therapy and also the willingness and the acceptance that I need this. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to go for this one thing. And I'm going to ride it all the way out, and I'm going to do everything it says to do because I wanted it now. I always wanted it, but now I'm ready to do the work for it. And I know I can't do it on my own. And what they did was went into the therapy was the key. It was to delve into why you're doing what the fuck you're doing to yourself. There was no self-worth. I just couldn't I find love and empathy for everyone in the world but myself, you know? And if you want yourself is so beaten down and you feel like such a piece of shit, that how are you going to help anybody else? You know what I mean? And so, but I would sing of despair and loneliness and drugs and this and that. And it did hit people. It did hit certain people that really needed it.
You're almost giving therapy to other people when you needed it yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's like, there's no hope for me, but maybe this can help you. I'm singing to myself a lot of that stuff, but maybe this can help somebody else. And that's always been my dream. My goal was never to be rich and famous or a rock star. God forbid a rock star. I wanted to be an artist, and I wanted to have the impact. Once I was conscious of what I was doing, the impact on me, and write some stuff that other people would perceive as like the shit that was there for me, you know, that was crucial. And I think I've done that.
Going back to kind of influences and stuff, had you seen that reaction which other performers had given to people? I mean, obviously you've got your John Lennons, who are huge on like a level that nobody can touch on the reaction those guys got.
I've set the bar pretty high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I guess.
That's what made it hard for me to hang in there with the 80s cock rock and shit like that. You know what I mean? But that was the time and the place. You're not aware really of the connection you're having with people and you're making until there was social media and stuff like that. I'd gotten a few letters, you know what I mean? One letter was just jaw dropping. It was like so amazing of something I had done had affected and how it affected it. And the ripple effect of what would have happened had this person done this.
How did that hit you?
How did it hit me? It hit me. It was hard because it was the hottest little girl I've ever seen knocking on my door, tacking a letter to my door. I opened it and there she is. And I'm thinking it's a drug dealer or something. There she is. Explains it to me. Basically the letter, you know what I mean? Says she's like frozen in nervousness that she couldn't really speak to me. And then I'm like, well, hey, you know, what's going on? You know, what are you doing? She goes, I'm getting married tomorrow. I'm like, what the fuck? You're getting married tomorrow. But that was cool. That one experience, that was enough to get me through some of that depression, some of that darkness, to know that I did that. That's worth more than all the money in the world to me. To people whose heart, I ache for people whose heart is aching. You know what I mean? Even to the point of people I don't even like. You know what I mean? It's still, they're suffering, and people are like around me, like, quit giving a fuck about this and quit giving a fuck about that. Just worry about your thing. It's like, all right, I'll try to. But with social media, every now and then I'm down or just, you know, frustrated, or I'll make a little post. I'll go fishing. You know what I mean? Have I done anything for you? Has my music done anything for your life and stuff? And they come flooding in. So it's overwhelming. Man. We're small, but we're mighty. You know what I mean? I feel like a team with all my fans. I feel like we're a gang. It's on a smaller level than Kiss and Bon Jovi and all that shit. We're on a much smaller level, but I feel that makes us a tighter group. It's like we know something that rest of the world don't know. We're in, you know, and to these people, I'm John Lennon. It's a hell of a statement, but to some of these people, you know, that literally they tell me you're like that.
Throwing things back to learning instruments, didn't you learn guitar specifically for a band audition in just a couple of days?
That's when I had a guitar. I've been playing in the mirror. I've been doing this and that. I had to even look like I knew chords and stuff because I knew how my hands should look, stuff like that, but couldn't actually play the guitar. And and so I was at some thing, I was waiting in line for, it was like getting the Beatlemania's autograph at this mini mall up there. And I was like, if once I've seen the guys up close, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing getting these guys autographs? They don't even look like the Beatles. They're fucking douchebags. You know what I mean? This guy's got a wig and this guy's got like, fuck these guys. But I met these guys in line that were, I think, ahead of me. And I heard them talking about that they're trying to put this band together and they want to put a Beatle band together and 60s stuff and shit like that. And I just overhearing, I'm just like, took a chance because like I said, I was very shy. I was very insecure. I took a chance of, my buddy next to me, Mark. Now he knew because when we get drunk, I'd start wailing away. I'd start singing and I played the piano a little bit, I'm a minuscule of chords, but I could play and sing. And he heard me and sing and he's like, dude, you're a fucking great singer. And I kind of thought that I was becoming really good, but so he's like, he actually almost started a fight with those guys. Those guys almost wanted to beat our ass, but it all ended up with, I'll try to play the guitar. You know what I mean? And so when are we going to rehearse? Tomorrow. I'm like, oh no.
Shit.
Yeah. So instead of the Beatlemania, I bought the Ernie Ball Big Note guitar book and 2 strings that were broken off my guitar. I had to put these 2 strings on there and learn Twist and Shout and Rocky Raccoon by the next day. I mean, sound like shit, but my strumming hand was good from all the percussive
You've been
things.
watching it all the time.
Yeah, my strumming hand was good. It was just these chords, and there's an F in Twist and Shout, at least how I learned it. Fucking 50% of the guitar players out there still can't play a open F chord, you know what I mean? But yeah, I learned those things and I was off and running. And of course, my playing couldn't hang in there well enough as we started going further and further. And so I ended up back to the drawing board and but eventually revisited those guys a little bit later when I worked up the nerve to sing in front of somebody. And my buddy Mark called them over. He started playing in the band because his guitar playing got better than mine after I was learning. He was better than me. And so was the other guys are better than me. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't sing. You know what I mean? But I couldn't really say that yet. He lined up some kind of audition for me that I wasn't even aware of. I didn't say, give me an audition. He's for these guys to come back and hear me sing one day. So I had to play, I think it was Can't Buy Me Love. The way he built it up, they're like coming to hear sound like exactly like that, and I'm like, fuck, man. And they were coming at 2:00 on Saturday. And I'm like, fucking 2:00 in the basement. I see the wheels to their car pull up. I'm like, oh my God, no.
Stomach's turning over, puking up in a corner.
Oh, it was terrible, man. But I shut my eyes and I sang. And they're like standing there like, okay, come on, impress us. Mark said this and this and that. All right, come on, impress us. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, well, could you possibly put any more pressure on me till things leaking out my pants? You know what I mean? So I closed my eyes and I did it. And all of a sudden they were like, the one guy goes, well, it ain't exactly like he says, but that's pretty good. And so they took me back playing with them and I was singing a little bit and they gave me like 1 song to sing or 2 songs to sing. And they weren't even Beatles songs. You know what I mean? It's like Freebird and Jimi Hendrix song. And they'd sing all the Beatles songs. I was like, that's the ones that I can sing. You know what I mean?
You couldn't drop a harmony on them or something like that to impress them.
Well, they didn't even know harmonies. And so I started bringing out harmonies and stuff and became more valuable to the band. And then when I was 16, unknowingly wrote my first song. I was in like a puppy love situation and wrote this first song. And it was right away. It was a bad emotion. We got the girl pregnant and her parents sent her to Greece and shit. You know what I mean? So I was like devastated and wrote this song. And it's a good song still. I keep thinking, man, I should record that song so people can hear my first song was even really good, but I had since brought in, started listening to Zeppelin and Aerosmith and things like that. Cause my buddies were like, Donnie, you can't just listen to this. You have to expand yourself. You have to listen to other shit. We don't want to sit and listen to this every day, all day long. I even listened to the Monkees, you know what I mean? I even listened to the Monkees, like the Monkees, check out Rush, check out 2112, So I started incorporating this and I started seeing more stuff that I could bring into what I do. And like I said, the guitar playing was weak, but, just learning different things. And I kind of at one point sort of stopped really listening to music. And I've never owned a CD.
Get it.
Never had any money to buy a record. I would tape my friends' records on a little cassette and I'd listen to those. And I'd even be learning songs that are going bro, bro, as the batteries are going and shit. I'd be learning the skips on my 45s. I'd play it with the skips and the bro, bro, when my batteries are dead and stuff. But yeah, I couldn't afford records, and I would borrow a record here or there, maybe eventually one day stole a bunch of records from somebody and just kind of never looked back. Just started writing songs after that, and like bam, one after another, bam, bam, bam. And then once I really caught on, met Chip.
Had you seen Chip play live at some point? What band was he playing at the time? I know he was in a band called Degeneration.
No, I never heard of that, but he was in a band called We're Staying. And we could get in, me and my friends could get in and see them when they would play like the VFW hall or something like that, or the rec center. We couldn't get into clubs and bars and shit. We didn't even know where any were. We didn't know how to. We go in there and Chip was bigger than life to me. I was like, that's a pro. I hated the singer, but that's a fucking pro. That fucking guy is cool as fuck. Look at how he plays the bass. It's like, it just made the difference of everything, that having pro guys. And then when I met Chip, he immediately was drawn to my vocals and stuff and just kind of took me under his wing like a brother. And
he told you he reminded you of, didn't he? Because he told me you reminded him of Tilbrook, Lennon and Costello all rolled into one. Pretty much all his favorite singers.
Well, he told me I sounded like some guy named Mimi Patinas, who was in a band that I never had heard in Chicago. So when I finally did hear him, I'm like, fuck you. You know what I mean? But he taught me how to be less than self-indulgent with my writing, you know what I mean? And because those bands you just mentioned there, they can get pretty deep and pretty indulgent with their chords and their structures and different feels and stuff like that. And so he kind of taught me fast track of how to make a song in the structure of like back to where I was listening to the Beatles before, like verse, chorus, don't bore us, get to the chorus, don't get too heavy with this and that, and then double time out, you know what I mean? Just blant, blant. You know what I mean? So we had everything, but then we wrote and did probably hundreds and hundreds of songs. I filled the space that he needed, but also filled the space that he was used to and wanted. You know what I mean? So we've had a thing like that all along that especially when my writing just kept evolving and taking over. And then, there's more and more of the credit taking and less of the collaborating or the understanding. Started growing apart because of things like that and the business people and everything. And his eyes was like blamed for everything. I'm just a big piece of shit. And, later on I look at it as, hey, you know what? It was my voice and my songs that, got us here. So it's mine to ruin. I'm sorry, if you're not satisfied with what you planned to get out of this, you know what I mean? We started growing a little bit apart, and then the drugs really started taking me over, and there was a vicious circle of me doing more of that stuff to deal with more of this negativity and this and that, and I do more, and then, like I said, it takes on a life of its own.
It almost becomes a no-win situation. One's trying to help the other, but it's doing the opposite of it in a way.
It's like I don't shoot any bullets that you don't hand me. That's all I'm going to say. You know what I mean? Every now and then when I finally get so filled up at one particular thing, I'll finally go off and I'll finally fucking stand my ground. And that now looks like, out of nowhere, I'm just being a jagoff. You know what I mean? It's like, you're coming up and doing this now. And no, it's been building. And here's the way I feel about this. And fuck you and fuck you and fuck you. You know what I mean? And go hang off with my degenerate buddies and do more drugs. And I fucked up a lot of shit and I own it. And there's nothing I can do about it now. And as much as I have tried recently to see if there's anything I can do about it, and there doesn't seem to be. And so I can say that a lot of good came from working with Chip Z'Nuff. Besides being the most amazing bass player, I still use him on stuff. He still will play on my stuff, but
yeah,
a lot of great things happened because of him, and I'll be indebted to him for the rest of my life for that shit. You know what I mean? But just can't at this point. He's grown so far apart, and he likes the job he has now. He likes being the lead singer of the band, and not dealing with any of my bullshit and stuff, and playing that same set list every night that we were playing the first tour. A lot of people don't seem to mind because of the shows that they're opening. They're opening for like cock rock bands and stuff. So people are there to see the main band and catch the last couple of songs of them. And those are Flying Michelle and New Thing, you know what I mean? And so no difference if I'm there or not there, unless we're trying to set up and promote big shows with a lot of time of promotion and really build it up. But I can't get in a van and go tour and like that, in a van with a bunch of guys that got to bug up their ass about me, and I got to bug up my ass about them because I want to do a better show. I want to do more better songs. And because I take it personally, because, you know, that's the stuff I think the fans want to hear. But like I said, I own everything that I did. You know, I'll take the beating for the whole thing if you want. If you want to give me the beating for the whole thing, I'll take it. You know what I mean? What else can you do? But except do my own thing now. And I think I've proven that what I do in the band, I think the music did the talking, and my creativity is not cock-blocked, and I'm not held in this particular little vein of production sound and shit like that. I was able to explore and find the vision and find what the songs tell me they want to be. The song tells me what it wants to be, and I follow it. You know what I mean? And put in the pieces. And then when some part or some guitar part or some keyboard part or strings or something or a harmony comes together, it's like, you know, fail. And then all of a sudden, abracadabra. It's like magic. It's like, fuck, what the fuck? That is awesome, you know?
A few people have said that. They've said, like, songs just come to them. I think Eddie Van Halen said it. You're just like a conduit to let them in.
But I was just getting ready to say, yeah, I mean, I've even been a little bit out of my mind, but enough where my inhibitions have shut off. And I have literally found myself sitting next to something, writing songs with that entity or whatever it is. And people say, yeah, you're just high, you're fucked up. No, I know it. You know, I can't turn and see it, but I know I'm sitting there and going back and forth with ideas and shit. And I'm like, I like that idea. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm sitting here by myself. I'm writing it all, you know, but there's something that feeds it to me, and I couldn't get lucky.
Is there a time limit on it to grab that idea?
When they come, if you don't grab them, they're gone, you know. And before I had my little phone recorder for ideas and stuff like that, lost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ideas, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you can't remember it the second time you go to play it. You can't remember what you did.
That's crazy, because once that song's recorded, it becomes an earworm and they can't forget it, but you only have that limited time to grab it.
Well, now I got a whole phone full of voice recordings now, and so I'm good for quite a while if I just find the motivation to, I'm trying to go with quality over quantity now, because making a whole record on your own dime and then going to push it and this and that is very expensive. And to do it right, also, it's a stupid idea now to go with these shitty little labels, because they don't do anything for you. They can't do anything for you. And they're just out to capitalize on your already built-in fan base and take half your money. You know what I mean? So we stopped doing that.
You just need that little infrastructure so you'll be able to put it out yourselves. If you've got that motivation and that work ethic to do it, then you don't need anybody. Yes, there's that.
It takes a little bit of money. It takes a little bit of money to be able to do that. And that's a catch-22 as well. Pledge Music and stuff just put us out of business. All the money we had saved and all the pledgers and their money. And these fuckers just disappear off the face of the earth, leaving us stuck holding a bag. And wish I could find that fucking guy, because I don't feel hatred for too many people, but I could sit there with a pair of pliers and a fucking blowtorch and a fucking, you know what I mean? And peel the fucking skin off, you piece of shit, you know what I mean?
That whole system was a game changer when it came out. I used it years ago as well, and that could have technically been the future.
It was the future. It was the future, so somebody else bought it. I know guys, artists that have done really, really well with that, letting the fans buy the record ahead of time, and then you get more and more fans. And my fans, they already know that that record's going to be great. It's an arrogant statement, but I know the next thing I do is going to be really good, or you won't hear it.
Right. That's one way to look at it. Yeah. You won't hear it if it's not going to be good. That's a great way of looking at it.
But a buffoon like me couldn't have got lucky that many times. You know what I mean? With all those songs. So something's in the air and something works with me. And it's just my job not to fuck it up.
Was there a point where you felt like you were hitting your stride with songwriting? Because there's the age-old saying that you have years to write your debut record, but the second Enuff Z'Nuff album is considered another step up in material. Did you just feel you were getting better and better?
I just felt it all along. I felt the evolution, and I felt the next batch of songs I was more pleased with, I was happier with. I felt more proud of myself, you know, and then would come the next. And yeah, I would hit a stride each time. You know what I mean? And because when they come, they come. It's not my fault they all only come to me. You know what I mean? It's like not my fault. And with all the lyrics, I still feel like I'm trying to hit my stride, because I'm not a poet. I just got to find lyrics to sound well when I sing them. And as I've learned my voice pretty well, I've learned what works with my voice, what does what to make this and that happen, and vowels and syllables that roll off the tongue better, and one step better if it means something and it's clever. You know what I mean? But get in there, and I feel like right now I still feel like I'm hitting my stride.
And what a great place to be after everything you've done, and you're still feeling that creative edge.
Very confident when I say I'm going to do it. You know, pretty confident, and I could just tell you right now, the next one I write, you're going to like it.
We spoke about fan bases a little bit. Much like the Wild Hearts here in the UK, Enuff Z'Nuff and yourself have such a devoted and loyal fan base, and that's a testament to the songwriting and also the characters within the band. I mean, Enuff Z'Nuff definitely had characters in the band.
I'll say.
Do you remember your first visits to the UK and the response from everyone over it?
Fuck yeah. That was like the epitome. That was like the realization that we had reached this one point. That was short-lived, but it was on its way. I was soaring up, and I remember that was played, I think it was the Marquee Club. I'm pretty sure. I think it was the Marquee Club, but I was not impressed at all by your food and by your toilet flushing capabilities. But I really got on well with you teabags because the sense of humor, I have that same sense of humor, and you guys are funnier than fuck even when you're not trying to be. And, not having a giant pint here, Donnie, you got a point. It's like pints up here are this big and shit, fucking 2 feet tall. I'm like, whoa. But just the bond I felt with England, you couldn't. It was my birthday, and we're playing the Marquee Club, sold out Marquee Club on my birthday. After doing an MTV interview on the way in, past the line of crowds, and everybody, Donnie, Donnie, Donnie. And I sort of realized that I've arrived. At this point, I can say that I made it. Now, did I keep it? I don't know, but I made it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you probably met some people back then who still come to shows now or, like you say, connect with you online. It became a soundtrack to their lives. I mean, what a credit.
That's the thing they always say. You're a soundtrack to my life. And Donnie, you could sing the phone book. So one of these days, I think I'll sit there with the phone book and I'm just like, Anderson, Arbuckle, Anvil, and see if I can do it and sing the phone book. And people are like, what the fuck is that? It's phone book. He told me to sing the phone book, but yeah, some of these fans, it's unbelievable. They're like old friends. They're like family, and I haven't seen a lot of them in a long time. You know what I mean? And like those guys go play over there and stuff, but I haven't been there, and I can't. And I was getting ready to putting my band together to get ready to go out to do live shows and support the Beautiful Things record, and then what happened. You know what I mean? And so it kind of left me off the hook, but my organizational skills and different things like that and resources are very small, you know what I mean? And so I really miss some things that were handled for me, you know what I mean? And I really have appreciation for what other people's job was. And there's a lot of realizations, but the fans are just fucking amazing. They're like my family, but they get pissed off at me like my family too. If I don't give somebody enough time or this and that, and they're pissed off. I'm a big jagoff, so you can't win them all,
Again, coming back to the Wild Arts, they covered your song "Time to Let You Go," which I think you enjoyed so much you began taking their version, and it became the one you played live.
Sure, it was like way more fun to play.
Would you like to collaborate with someone like Ginger at some point? It'd be interesting to see what would come out.
I'd love to try. I'd like to see if there's anything that I could have something to offer, or it could have something to offer me.
I don't know what Ginger's songwriting process is. I mean, he's like you. He's like a machine. He just like churns songs out.
Yeah, well, I don't sit down to write a song. I won't be successful at it. I'll sit down to work out parts and sit down to polish a song, but I can't, then that's work, but I don't sit down, all right, we're going to write a song today. And whenever I've tried with certain people, I end up, my idea is better than their idea. And then they got an attitude because we're using only my ideas. And well, my idea works. Your idea does not work. It sounds like shit. I'm not going to sacrifice the integrity of the music anymore for somebody else's feelings.
How did you find going into the studio when you've got like the money machine behind you now? You're working with a producer. You say you would have loved to have found your George Martin in that. How did you find that with your creativity? Did that open some doors, or did you find pressure, like someone had their ideas and sonically how it's going to sound?
The first record we ended up producing ourselves, but that manager we had, he was a piece of shit, but he had offered us the abilities to do our demoing in a big studio because he was managing us and he owned the biggest studio. So we got to do our demos and work our shit out in the studio and stuff and do our own thing. And then we ultimately ended up producing our own first record, although he was hired to do it. But it's just hanging the cocaine in front of me and stuff. Do my idea, do the cocaine and shit. But once we got to Strength and we had Paul Lanny, one of only 1.5 producers that I've ever had in my career.
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, but that built up some resentment too, because it was me and him. It was me and him coming up all his ideas and he was like focusing on me. And so other guys are getting an attitude about that shit, but you can hear the Strength record, the results of it. We were touching on to something that could have really evolved and kept going, you know what I mean? But the next record, we weren't on that same label and other people had a different vision for producing us. And different vision for the band in itself. It's more or less kind of relying on me and my power ballads and stuff like that. And I kind of got the drift after a while, what was being attempted to be done and stuff.
You had everything that was happening in the industry as well at that time.
Well, when a guy tells you, hires a producer for Innocence and Right by Your Side, and the rest of it we can go produce ourselves. What does that tell you? You know what I mean? What does that tell you? So we go back and produce the rest of it ourselves, and we're back. It sounded more like the first record than it did the second record, because that second record would have been a great foundation to build and evolve this body of music, this body of work. And but that was short-lived, and he was gone. And then we had one producer that produced 2 songs. He'll be the first guy to say he hadn't have to do shit. But then after that, there just was no money. You couldn't hire a producer.
You had an engineer, basically.
Good engineer, right? But then Beautiful Things, I had a producer, Mike Tholen. He's amazing. He's a dick, but he's amazing.
You pull no punches, sir. Pull no punches.
Doesn't seem to like me anymore, and I don't know what happened, but it's okay. He's still, if I can, whenever I get a little bit of money, I still go to him. Like, if I can afford him, you know what I mean? And I've gotten lucky with another guy, Vinny Castaldo. He did the last Enuff Z'Nuff Dissidents record, and that was I thought we reached the epitome of hard rock, power pop, melodic stuff, and then he would help later on. And these guys are coming to my aid. You know, it all started from me nearly dying in the hospital to having some resources. And yeah, and so the Beautiful Things was the first record I ever got to, like I said, paint the complete vision of what this record told me it wanted to be. Magic.
Bouncing back from all that and everything that's happened in the last 18 months, so it's seen so much creativity from yourself, which is just to bring things bang up to date, culminating in the new box set that's coming out. You got the new single Party Time. Are you something of a completist yourself when it comes to being a fan of a band? Do you like to hear everything that's available?
It depends on what it is. Like, I've heard every outtake and this and that from Beatles. I've heard so many records from bands that one thing that I really loved was old Motown and R&B and soul. You can hear a lot of it in my voice. You know, I learned a lot of the trills and just the soul of it and the blues of it. And the blues is boring to me, but the blues, I can feel what they're feeling, the pain and and what it is.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. You're not saying, you're not dismissing it. You're understanding it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a lot of it sounds like the same exact song to me. You know what I mean? But
the emotions there.
Yeah. Unless it's Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean? But the guys they learned from, that music does nothing for me. Robert Johnson, shit like that. I can't deny that they're pioneers, but by the time it got to me, the melodies and stuff like that didn't appeal to me. And it's just kind of boring, but I know I'm going to catch a lot of shit for saying that. But it's just, to me personally, some things just don't tweak my senses.
A lot of people are saying that Wolfgang Van Halen should go into the vaults of 5150 and drag out everything that Eddie did, but there'll be so much stuff there, man, and just put out the stuff that's good.
Eddie would have put it out if he thought it was ready. And just like this Enuff Z'Nuff box set that's just come out on Cleopatra, these are all songs that didn't make the records. These are all songs pre-first record. Yeah, there's some good stuff in there, but as I've grown as a songwriter, there's something about each one of them that I can see there's a reason why I didn't use it. I didn't choose that song to do something, but other people have different opinions. And thank goodness for that the fans still like every little bootleg, every little, because there's a lot of them, that record sounds like shit. You know what I mean? It's stuff I produced and engineered, and it sounds like I can't mix Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? And so, so this record, this box set that I'm doing, it's actually on a flash drive. So it's a flash drive, and you pull this little thing, it's a laminate.
No one's got CD players anymore anyway, so you'd have been screwed doing it on CD.
Exactly. Now more of them are using record players, than CD players at this point. But you open this little thing on your Donnie Vie laminate, and there's a flash drive. You plug it into your computer or whatever, and it's got every one of my hard to find records. And because I was on shitty labels, and so they're out of print and they're hard to find. They were never promoted. People didn't think I even existed. And I bought them all back with the money I got from the Cleopatra deal. I bought all my records back, including Beautiful Things. And there's all my records on it. There's 5 records, and there's a 6th record. I got about 8 to 10 brand new songs that I've done here in my home studio. Did the best I could do, pretty unconventional, but they sound great. And, you can hear the song. It's as good as old records. You know what I mean? 60s and early 70s records, as good as that. So that's on there. And then there's a bunch of demos in the same vein as that Enuff Z'Nuff thing, only these are the demos from Beautiful Things record. So you're hearing it the way it sounded the very first time, the day I recorded it, the day I wrote it. Now, usually if I wrote it, I'll record it that day.
Just that initial idea, that concept, that idea is there straight away?
We were debating and we were deliberating on would I include all this? People were talking extra content, which would be all my shitty sounding things that I've tried to do through the years of my own and stuff. And I just opted, no, man, 6 records. And one of them being almost a whole new record, 40, 50 videos on it, all these different kind of videos and stuff like the professional videos. And then all these ones that I've made with my guy, Lee Stokes, through the years, and just personal videos. They're all on there. Instant Karma videos on there, that song's on there. Basically, anything that I've ever released that's worth a shit, sounds worth a shit to me, is on there. And I'm like, fuck, I'm not putting all this extra content on there. Fuck, that's enough. That's enough out of a record, for a box set for $110. Dad, I wanted it for $100, but they told me, no, we're going to have 110 because we got this and that we have to pay for, and we have to pay for each flash drive. And so, yeah, that's enough. And I don't want that other shit, out there. If you really wanted it bad enough, there's bootleg guys you could get that shit from. But plus that laminate, the drive itself is also, you show that when you start performing again, that is your VIP or meet and greets, you're all this and that shit, which always rubbed me the wrong way. But you got to do what you got to do to make a buck. And it's the only way to make a living anymore. And we put out the pre-sales, and the pre-sale people will get this old limited edition, this other 45 of Party Time before I recut it, a vinyl record. And it's got the song called All My Favorite Things on the back. And you get one of those. And there was only like 50 or 70 of those that exist, that hadn't been handed out. And, they're autographed. This laminate thing is autographed. And you also get a 15-minute Zoom call litany if you're the pre-sales. But we hit that mark, and now I'm not as gung-ho about pre-sales because everyone's a 15-minute Zoom call. And when you got a 115-minute Zoom calls, that's
going to rack up.
God, it's a lot of work, but I'll do them. Hopefully, I won't have to do them all in one day.
Doing all this stuff, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going off. Do you get much time to enjoy music as a fan? Is there anyone who inspires you creatively, or where are you drawing inspiration from these days?
I'm a TV guy. I don't need to draw inspiration because what I do comes to me in the thin air and tells me what it wants to be. And I have to focus on that. And every time I do listen to something else, I try to pick up the modern today's production styles, and the instrumentation and everything they do there is so foreign to me that I have no concept of that. And there's no point I listen to a couple things that I enjoy, and maybe through soundtracks and stuff, but I'm a TV guy. I watch movies and binge watch shows and stuff like that.
New movies or classics?
New movies, I don't like classics, anything in black and white or you couldn't swear in it. I mean, it's they're burnt out on those because we only had a few movies when we were kids. And I have my comfort shows when I'm going to sleep or something because I'm scared of the dark. And so I can't just lay there in the dark and no noise and stuff. So I hear everything and something's trying to get me under my bed and shit like that.
Man, it's Halloween soon. Wrong time of the year for you.
Yeah, well, fuck Halloween. I mean, that's be no bobbing for apples for me, man.
No trick-or-treaters around your house.
Bobbing for apples in the hair pie. There's also this other little bonus record. It's this shit called Guilt and Shame that I did with my 7-year-old nephew. It's like inappropriate country ditty.
I saw some of that.
You gotta listen to it. It's funny as fuck, man. They're clever. They're clever.
He got all the lyrics down though on everything I've seen.
Yeah, you got the lyrics down. They were funny. It was just laughing my ass off writing this shit. And I was like, this is fucking clever. This is genius little fucking shit. These little parodies. Some of them are total barroom sing-alongs. Really, took the Greyhound bus to heaven, shit like that. They're like, when I was picking cotton, she got laid. It was like, these are barroom fucking classic sing-alongs.
This is going to be the thing that breaks out over everything. That'll be the thing that catches on.
You know what? I'll take it. That'd be a lot more easier to sing. And I'll go tour with that. My nephew is now 13. So we kind of lose the beauty of the little kid. And the whole guilt and shame thing has basically ruined him. It's from 7 on.
It's in his vocabulary now.
Fucking asshole now, but I love him to death. He's coming along. He's getting a lot better. And you get all of that shit on there, plus the laminate thing that gets you in. And after pre-sales, that laminate still gets you in. It still does that. And I plan to not tour, but play a lot of shows. And if I come over there, obviously you got to hit everything at one time. So, and I do have a plan to come over there, and I also have a plan to come over there with like maybe an all-star cast doing an Enuff Z'Nuff show. My Enuff Z'Nuff, because I want to see everybody again. And I want to sing my old songs for people and my new stuff, but but my own show will have, you know, a lot of that stuff in it, but obviously you can't have too much of it in there, you know what I mean? And because I'm really focusing on my new stuff, which I think is more appropriate for what I do in my age and my writing and stuff. I just get off on it more than that old stuff, you know what I mean? But the old stuff is good.
People will be excited to see you for sure. Donnie, it's great to see you in such a great place, so excited about the material and just the future. I think it's awesome. It's really cool. I appreciate you speaking to me about it.
Thank you very much. You're going to have a spotted dick tonight and you can edit the fucking video. Pint and spotted dick.
Well, you take care of yourself, man. I've loved chatting with you.
I really enjoyed this interview. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't the typical same old questions. I like to talk about the creative and things like that. I really enjoyed this. It was great. It was great. Thank you.
Nice one, man. I appreciate you saying that.
Of course, you're English.
All right. You enjoy the rest of your day, dude.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
It's party time. If it's a good time, I don't mind. Party time. If it's a good time, I don't mind. Party time. If it's a good time, I don't mind. Party time. If it's a party time. If it's a good time, I don't mind. Party time. If it's a good time, I don't mind. Party time. If it's a good time, I don't mind. Party time. We'll have a good time.
Thanks so much to Donnie Vie for speaking to me here on the Straight to Video podcast. Hope you enjoyed everything I had to say, and please check out all his music over at donnievie.com. And if you're new to this show, then please check out over 100 episodes at stvpod.com. If you're here because you're an Enuff Z'Nuff fan, then there are chats with Johnny Monaco, Chips Enuff, Tori Stoffragan, and Alex Kane, all available to listen to as well, so please go back and check them out if you have time. Also, don't forget about our Patreon page, which gives you early heads up on guests, a bonus podcast, and exclusive merch, which you can find out all about over at patreon.com/STVpod. I'd love to have you part of that. Alright, that's all for today's show. Thanks so much for listening and for all the support and love you show to this podcast. It's massively appreciated, and I look forward to doing it all again soon.